أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعه وولاه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. We continue with the book explanation series. Every Thursday we have the book of مختصر منهاج القاصدين by الإمام الشيخ ابن قدامة رحمه الله تعالى, seeker of the path, and we still talking about the seclusion, يعني العزلة, اجتناب الناس, staying away from people. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. So we talked about the advantages of that. You're avoiding ghiba, backbiting, envy from people, focusing more on your worship and all that, but you're missing on many other things also that does not come except by mingling with people and socializing and being part of the active and interactive community. So we talked about the disadvantages of seclusion, that you're missing lots of things that only come through socialization, like teaching and learning. We talked about those, especially if teaching and learning is obligatory. Teaching someone is obligatory, yeah. If there are people who do not know how to pray and you know how to teach them, you cannot seclude yourself. It will be sinful, because it'll be asked about them that you had a chance to teach them. And if you do not know how to pray and there is someone to teach you, but you insist on not learning, that's also sinful. Also benefiting from others and benefiting others and benefiting from them. So benefiting and reciprocating benefit. You deal with them, you sell and buy, and you have interactive transactions, like business transactions and other transactions. But if a person alone by themselves, they have a farm and they're self-sufficient, they have like Muhammad here wants to stay on a farm, ruler. I want to retire on a farm as well. So when you have everything with you and you are self-sufficient and no need for you in the community, that without you there will be corruption and problems, then you're fine. You can do that. Also, you benefit others with your money, with your knowledge. And we talked about this. What is the third benefit that you will miss if you have seclusion? التأديب والتأدب. تأديب والتأدب. تأديب means you instruct someone. Your child is doing something bad, you're telling them not to do it. That's ta'deeb. But ta'addub is you are the one that who will be instructed. If someone intimidates you and you do not react, you are making adab to yourself now. Self-control. Yeah. So you're telling somebody to be patient, but in this case you are telling yourself to be patient, and you are forcing yourself to be patient, and you end up being patient. That's ta'addub. So when you say ta'deeb with the mad, means you are doing it to someone. Ta'addub means you are practicing ta'addub. So when you say, I have ta'addub with my father, with my mother, but I do ta'deeb to my children. I do ta'deeb to my students. But I'm a student, I'm doing ta'addub with my teacher. So ta'deeb is from up, down. Ta'addub from down, up. That you'll miss when you seclude yourself. How are you going to test yourself? If somebody is secluded from young time, and then they go out and somebody insulted them, for example, how are they going to react to that? Unless they're doing it. It's like you go and learn martial arts. You get hit a few times until you develop the tolerance to it, and then you defend it. But that's why they tell you, if you don't get hurt, you don't know how to fight. You got to get hurt. You're going to bleed. You're going to have broken something in the process. Otherwise, you do not know what pain is. You have to know what pain is. So ta'deeb wa ta'addub, it has to be from dealing with people and being patient with their harm. Also, you will benefit, you will lose that benefit if you seclude yourself. You lose the benefit of controlling your desires. The absence of temptation does not mean you're safe from temptation. You're staying alone in your room, there is no temptation, huh? but it does not mean the temptation is gone. You open the door and you find temptation, you fall to it faster than a person who's outside. People are outside and driving and seeing, advertisement and working with fitna and all of that, and the controlling themselves. I'm not saying it's a good environment, but they develop certain tolerance that a person who's not exposed to that will do. That's why I find migrants, when they come from overseas or something like that to an open society like the United States or Europe, they commit sin ala tool, very fast. Why? Because they were not exposed to the same level of temptation, and suddenly, without being ready, so they were away from it. And that's what is going to happen in seclusion as well. You seclude yourself, and you end up not knowing how to control your lust. طيب, يعني your body is your vehicle to al-akhirah. Like the ride, a camel or a donkey or a car or whatever, this is a ride that will take you from point A to point B. Your body also is your vehicle from this dunya to al-akhirah. But that body, like the animal, wants to run, wants to kick. That's why you have a rope, you have a saddle, and you sit on it in a certain way. You train it also. You have to break the horse, wild. So our nafs, our soul, our lust, carnal desires are like the wild Mustang or a wild animal. You have to break it, and you break it. You are not going to break the horse when it is running in front of you wild. You're going to bring it down and break it and struggle with it. And it can take days and months sometimes until you break it. Then you put the saddle over it. Then you put the rope. Then it will become lenient with you, easy going. Even when you fall asleep, the animal is not going to throw you away. It's going to take you safely too. And that's how your body is the same thing. Body, We're talking about the lust, the physical body. If you leave it, your eye sees, your brain thinks, and then the rest of your body will act. Now, if you control your eyes, you're controlling that animal, that lust, animal lust. Controlling your hand, you're controlling your desires, you're controlling your private part, you're controlling your thoughts. And the more advanced you become, the harder temptation can get to you, and the easier you can navigate through this temptation, life of temptation. So, controlling the lust and desire is not sought after for itself, like in of itself. It is for what it does. And some people, they go like Buddhist or something, they go in the mountain and they seclude themselves and they train themselves, but they never come down to experience. It's not meant that you kind of like become a saint. This is not what is the idea, but how a saint is a saint when he come down to people and stay a saint. So the training, it is not to stay away from people. The training is to be with people. So you do diet. It's not when your fridge is empty. But when your fridge is empty, of course you're going to have a good diet. Once you go out and your friends bring like the Big Mac and the stuff around you and the juice and the soda, then we'll see how strong your diet is, how strong of a person you are. If they start defeating and said, no, I'm going to go for prayer, I'm going to go for that. That is when your riyada or your sportsmanship or your training going to kick into place. People can have a gun and they can shoot in the range and everything like that. But that's not what's intended, that you keep going. What's intended is when the moment comes, you're ready. It becomes like a second nature, like a nature, like without... You don't learn driving just to go take the train and the bus all your life. Why did you learn how to drive? You have to practice that. And so on and so on and so on. تأديب also to instruct other people. ويعني to be good and social, you need that for your emotional being, your emotional self. You need also to know that you are not alone and all of this. There is another benefit also a person will lose if they seclude themselves, which is getting reward from social deeds. How are you going to visit people who are sick if you are alone? How are you going to follow janazah? How are you going to help someone? How are you going to mediate between a husband and wife who have a problem? You're not going to do any of that. So you're losing a huge amount of reward. How are you going to advise someone enjoying good and forbid bad? How are you going to listen to someone and and make them, vent. So these are things that you will be rewarded because you communicating with others. You seclude yourself from others, you're not going to get any of these tens of doors of reward. Attending, weddings, attending aqiqas, because you're making everybody happy that you came, especially if you are a person with position or a person with prestige in society and people like you and respect you, they want you to share with them. Also, you are preventing others from getting reward from doing that to you. And if I am sick, but I seclude myself, who's going to visit me? Now you are preventing people from getting reward because of you. You are preventing yourself from getting reward because of them, and you are preventing them from getting reward because of you. So reflect, do that as well. Especially if a person is a alim or a knowledgeable person, people want to visit, want to learn from, but he secludes himself, then he cuts them off. So you have to understand, like whether people visiting me is good for me or bad for me. Whether I'm visiting people is good for me or bad for me. So we are talking about striking that balance. So I mentioned the advantages, now we're mentioning the disadvantages. Also, one of the advantages that you're going to miss if you seclude yourself is tawadu', humbleness. How are you going to be humble if there is nothing humbling you? Of course, when you are alone, you are alone, You dress humbly, you sit humbly, you eat humbly, you are alone, nobody. But the real humbleness, as we mentioned, is when people are in front of you. Yeah, so this will never happen. Nobody is going to know if they are humble or arrogant when they are alone by themselves. You have to be with people to know that. So now, when you know the seclusion, its advantages and the disadvantage, then you cannot blanket or categorically judge it as good or bad. You have to navigate through, and it comes with knowledge. So you have to have a coach or a mentor or a sheikh, someone who tells you, someone who knows who you are, someone who can walk you through this maze. You tell you that you are good, learn this knowledge, go to the class and come back. Do not associate at this time, take 1 year, 2 years to do this or do that. Then you are under mentorship of someone. الإمام الشافعي رحمه الله said الانقباض عن الناس مكسبة للعداوة والانبساط إليهم مجلبة للسوء. He said holding yourself from people brings enmity, but being so much all over them, it brings problems as well. So that you'll have problems. So when you seclude yourself, they become, he's arrogant now, he's this, he's that. But when you are all over them, you say, what kind of person is that? Like he's all over, his nosy, he's da. So you have to be in the middle. فhe said, كن بين القبض والبسط. Be in between holding back and being all over the place. ومن ذكر سوى هذا فهو قاصر. Whoever thinks otherwise, his brain is not thinking properly. طيب, if somebody said, what are the etiquettes of seclusion? Inshallah, this is what we're going to take next time. Inshallah, we'll talk about the etiquettes of seclusion if you decide to be secluded. And my advice is, sometimes you need that, sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes, like if you are a student, for example, and you're studying and mingling with people is going to cause you to be distracted from your study, they don't. And mingling here can be in social media, and it does not have to be physically there. Social media, 5-6 hours a day, that's too much, right? So if you are going to seclude yourself sometimes, then you have to know the etiquettes of that, which we'll do next time, inshallah. And if you are mingling with people, it has its own etiquettes as well. May Allah make us among those who always stay in the middle, and may Allah make us among those who learn and follow the best of what they learn. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.